Sorry, that was me waiting for the camera to turn on. I look like absolute shit too. This is bad. I don't know why I'm making this. There is a basketball hoop in my room. I like to pretend that I'm 7 feet. I don't know why I'm making this at all, honestly. I've actually been thinking about taking like YouTube seriously and shit like that. But if I'm gonna do that, I would want to script things and I would want to know how to edit things. This is just me rambling because I have something I need to talk about. Like, that would be really, I think I think it'd be a lot more difficult to write about it or to do that, which I'm probably gonna be doing anyway because I feel like I'm much more like eloquent and on point. And I don't say like as much when I type. So the thing I need to talk about is, like, let me preface this with saying I am one of those people that cannot stand the press when they label something greatest of all time. I hate that so fucking much. Particularly as a sports fan, and particularly as an admirer of sports history and an admirer of the people of our past, I get really upset when the press in sports way overblows something, blows something completely out of proportion. When they I'm not going to give any examples because I don't want people that love LeBron to hate me too much. But I just wish things, especially in sports, would be put in proper context. This might not seem to have anything to do with what I'm about to say, but it will. Just trust me. When people put athletes in sports way too high, way too quickly. When they put Steph Curry as like the 23rd greatest player of all time when ESPN did that, that's fucking disgusting. He's not in the top 50 yet. Because I just feel like a certain amount of time has to pass before that happens. And certain accomplishments and milestones need to be done. And also you have to understand historical context of other people that have played said sport. So my point is, and I also hate when they do that with movies. This movie is the greatest ever thing that came out. It's just, it gets really irritating. They do the same thing with albums, and it just gets annoying. But there are two instances where I completely understand the press, and it's like the only two instances I ever agree with them on something being the greatest ever. The first, where if you've ever read me, I've already posted this. I already said that I feel like Hamilton is the greatest musical of all time, and that was just basically off of like I kind of was left out of the Hamilton craze when everybody and their mom was listening to it and obsessed with it, and they still are to a large extent. But when everybody and their mom was crazy about it, I kind of listened to a couple of tracks and thought, oh, this is dope. It's a rap musical. That's great. And, that's great. And as Louis C.K. Once said, oh, that's very nice. Back to this. But no, I never really found time to finish it, honestly. And I make that sound like I have such a busy life where I spend my time doing anything. I spend time I should be doing cleaning my room, talking to a camera, pretending that anybody's listening to me. So, no, I just never got around to it. And also, again, the overhype bothers me a lot. The way people talk about it bothered me a lot, and it turned me off to listening to it. And that turns me off to many things when people way overrate something or way overstate something. And that's what I thought that they were doing. And then I listened to fucking Hamilton. And yeah. I think now that they underrated it. And just to briefly reiterate what I had written before, it is the story and the challenge in writing that had to have been so amazing. It's so overwhelming. Just the story arc, the lyrics, the character development, the amazing historical accuracy, the fact that most of what was said in there is absolutely true. The part about the Tomcat is not, and the part about Lawrence being in South Carolina at that time was not. And there were a couple of like other little things that were a little overstated. But other than that, it's unfucking believable, and the picture that it paints is amazing. But that's actually not what I mean when I say I hate when people jump on greatest of all time, but I agree with them now. I just finished watching a 7.5-hour documentary that was the top trending story, and it was huge. Everybody was talking about it. All the critics praised it. And I'm a huge documentary fan. Like, I watched a lot of them, and I absolutely love documentaries. There are many great ones. O.J. Made in America is the greatest documentary ever made. At least the greatest documentary I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of the other contenders, a lot of the other ones that people said, this is the greatest documentary ever. O.J. Made in America blows everything I've ever seen away. It is one of the greatest pieces of film I've ever seen in my entire life. I was amazed at how well it was. And just to give you some background on what I know about O.J. Simpson way prior to this, I knew O.J. Simpson in terms of hearing people as he's a murderer. That's all I knew. It's just he's a dude that killed people. That's all I know. And then I started really getting into and falling in love with the sport of American football, and then I knew the juice. Then I started watching Bills games, like old 70s Bills games, whatever I could find on YouTube too, and highlight films and player perspectives. And I tried to view his career through the lens of only as a football fan and not as a critical human being with morals, and things like that. And I thought he was incredible as a football player. I started studying USC and things like that. So he became, one of the players that I feel was least talked about in a football terms, and maybe deservedly so because of his personal life. And honestly, like, I think Adrian Peterson's a piece of shit for what he did to his child. But if Adrian Peterson breaks the rushing record, I'm not going to not put him in the top 5 of all-time running backs because he fucking beat his shit. Like, that has nothing to do with what you did on the field. And I've always been like battled with that, and I've always personally battled with that because there are some people like Bill Cosby. Like, I've never found Bill Cosby funny, but if I ever did, I can't listen to Bill Cosby again. And there's a part of me that has always wanted to finish watching the special himself, and I fucking can't do it, and it's hard. It really is, and I don't know. I just and that. Kind of, and then the thought come back to me, well, you didn't have a problem viewing O.J. Simpson as a football player, why can't you view Bill Cosby as a comedian? And it's difficult, so I completely relate to that now, but the way it chronicled things, and the way it explained things, the way that documentary was made is unfucking believable. And then another piece of background, I watched 2 documentaries, O.J. The Untold Story, which I think everybody should watch, because one thing that documentary does, and a lot of people have said that the documentary tries to prove O.J. innocent, and I don't feel like that documentary does. I feel like what that documentary does is try to explain how there was reasonable doubt. And what I think it did for me was not label the jurors as idiots. Once you hear about the case, once you start studying it, you think, oh, it's the most slam dunk case in the history of the world. How could the fucking idiot jurors? When you convict someone, you have to convict someone without a shadow of a doubt. And those people had reason to doubt. And that's what that documentary exposed. So I thought that documentary was excellent, especially the way it covered forensics and the way investigations are done. And also, I watched the Dateline episode on it, which what that did was it did paint it into more of a light where it's like, yeah, he fucking did it. But it also painted how well the fucking defense team for him did it. To beat a case that was that slam fucking dunk was incredible. Did they cheat? Did they were they slimy? Did they use They're fucking lawyers. like how do you fucking blame them for that? They're fucking lawyers. What are they gonna play nice and be honest? Fuck that. They're fucking lawyers. Like, I find it really funny that people are like, how dare you do that, you disgusting. You're a fucking lawyer. It's your job to be a sleaze. Whatever. No disrespect to lawyers. You guys do an awesome job most of the time when you're not defending guilty people. Anyway, but I mean, I can't even blame them. It's your job. Like, you're hired on a case to prove them innocent. What you think doesn't fucking matter, and it shouldn't at the end of the day, which is why I would never be a lawyer, even though studying law is fun, and I would argue the shit out of somebody. But I just can't live with myself if I did that. Just, that's a personal thing. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, that if you're a lawyer who defended someone guilty, you shouldn't be able to live with yourself. Again, it's your fucking job. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time blaming lawyers for doing that. It's kind of your job, and you're being paid to do so. You're being paid, like, what are you going to do, lose the entire case? It damages your credibility, too. It's just a whole fucking thing. But I'm not here to talk about lawyers. Anyway, but those documentaries were incredible, and documentaries previously made about him about his football career were incredible. OJ OJ Made in America basically combines every aspect of that, makes it 17 times better, covers race, covers different things within the black community, and how very little OJ was black. And I love that they focused on that. There was a great line in the trailer that I was waiting to show up. Is that OJ, a civil rights victim? It was disgusting. And I completely agree with that. And it was just such an amazingly revealing documentary. And it didn't come from solely the perspective, especially when they get to part 3 and 4, when they cover the case. It didn't come from solely the perspective of he did it, which is how I feel like every instance of that case being covered historically has come from. It has come from an objective, a very, very subjective opinion coming off as objective that he fucking did it. And you know what? Honestly, no one was there. But he did it. But that every single piece of a film made about it, I feel like always leans itself towards that bias. I feel like OJ Made in America fucking really found a way to. They didn't necessarily get a bunch of people that felt like he didn't. It's not like they got 12 people that think he's innocent still and 12 people that think he's guilty still. What they did was they kind of chronicled how you can go from he didn't do it to holy shit he did it. And they did that with a lot of the jurors. Yes, they had a couple of people that still to this day feel like he didn't do it, which is their right to have that opinion. I mean, they shouldn't be fucking shut up for that. But I also love how they went to the jurors, and the jurors in that case, especially juror I think number 2, if I'm not mistaken, the very striking fucking woman. I'm not saying that as in oh yeah, that woman, like I'm watching the documentary. No, I'm just saying the fucking case happened 22 years ago and you still look 20. That's fucking awesome. But when she would talk about how she didn't talk about did I think he did it? Who gives a shit? She talked about, do I have doubts? Can I have doubt? And if you do, you can't convict him. And it does cover how it's you get into the mindset of a juror, he most likely did it, but if he didn't, I'm sending him to jail. And there's so much red flags around it. The only thing I wish OJ Made in America covered was the forensics behind it. And they did talk about EDTA, and I'm really happy that they did. They didn't talk about a lot of the other things involved in the case, but it was mainly a documentary about him. And I love how, and while you're watching it, because I advise every human being on planet Earth to watch it, while you're watching it, you might seem to feel like there's no correlation between Letitia, I can't fucking remember the last name, I apologize, the Rodney King case, and a lot of the other cases that they covered there, the Watts riots, the LA riots. They kind of cover those separately, and then they get back to OJ's life. But the way they do it, you kind of see the correlation. And the last parts 4 and 5, leave you in awe. Because it's everything ties back together. There are so many instances, and especially parts 2 and 3, where you're especially 2 and 1, where you feel oh my god, that's hard. And you're also in horror and shock of how black people were treated at the time by the LAPD and things like that. And you feel yourself even though you were never there, I was never even born at the time, you were never there, you feel like you're taking sides. You feel holy shit, this is the history of race relations. It also helps you kind of understand what's going on now. And it also helps you put into perspective what's going on in Ferguson and things like that. So it's great in that sense. But it's also just a great piece of documentarianism, I don't think that's a word, but whatever. It's just so amazing to watch and to understand. But you also, part of you feels okay, we went from OJ and the Hertz commercial to a black woman getting shot, to OJ the celebrity, to Rodney King, and you kind of feel like the juxtaposition is like, just, okay, where's this going? But you, it's hard to describe. Like, you kind of see what it has to do with everything, and you get angry at OJ a lot in this documentary. You get angry at him a lot. You get angry at him when you find out about the domestic abuse, and I love how much they covered that. One of the critics of OJ Made in America said that they didn't go over that, and they didn't cover that extravagantly. The documentary is not about that, though. And the case and his life and the relation has much more to do with race than anything else in the entire world. So it should have only covered the domestic abuse of Nicole Simpson and OJ and nothing else. So to that critic, I say, like, that's not what the documentary is about. It would have been great if it would have covered it, but it's not what the documentary is about. And it would have felt weird. So, and I'm pretty sure I'm misconstruing what the critic meant to say, but that's kind of like, I was reading the critiques and it's like, oh, they should have covered more of the domestic abuse. No, they shouldn't have. I think they did a perfect job with it, and I think they did a perfect job, and that's kind of like one of the first times where you're really fucking mad at him, and you see the elements of his personality, how it leads up to this, the struggle for control. He says early, when he's a Bills player, he says, I thrive for attention. And you think to yourself, Bronco chase. You think to yourself all the other things he did. And everything kind of pieces together in terms of his personality and why it would lead him to do any of these things. The cover of the murders are pretty fucking gruesome, and I love that they are. I love that when they showed the pictures of the bodies, they didn't shy away. They showed the neck wounds, and I'm not squeamish, and I almost threw up. They really did have a good balance of, these are two people's lives lost, don't get taken away by the fact that this is OJ, and then also balanced it so well with the public opinion in terms of, this is a black man, this and that, black man, this and that. And there's a great sense of karma in it. And what I'm about to say might seem like I'm siding with OJ, or I think that, but hear me out. And I'm not, honestly. Doubt crept into me when it came to the case after I watched OJ The Untold Story. I think if you watch that documentary, you will have some doubt about the case. You will not look at the case the same way. If you look at it objectively, if you look into it with your mind made up, he fucking did it, and you watch that documentary, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. If you watch OJ The Untold Story from just a kind of perspective, doubt does seem to creep in. But when OJ Made in America talks about his personality, then you kind of get it. You completely understand it. And, but and I'm not trying to spoil the documentary for you, but we all know what the fucking verdict was. Like, it's not like I'm telling you, oh, by the way, he was found not guilty, and you go, oh shit, like, there's no way that's gonna happen. You all know the verdict. If you're 5 years old, you know the fucking OJ verdict, okay? When they go over the verdict, one of the people in the documentary say that was payback. And you're like, karma's a bitch, isn't it? And you feel like OJ deserved justice. You felt like he deserved to be put in jail. But you can't help but understand the win for the black community after the documentary sets you up to understand what the history of that was. And I think the way they did that is so fucking incredible. Anyway, I'm rambling for almost 20 minutes. But this documentary is the greatest documentary I've ever seen. Hopefully someone will make another one, and I'll probably say that one was the best. And hopefully someone will like comment on this, oh, if you think that was great, watch this. And I'll watch it and I'll be like, okay, opinion changed. Because I'm not a politician. I'm able to change my opinion without being a flip-flopper. But as it stands, that is the most worthwhile 7 hours you can ever spend doing anything. So no video games, no jerking off, no keeping up with Kardashians for 7 fucking hours. Just watch this documentary, because this documentary is amazing. You can watch it on Watch ESPN. Just download. If you have an iPhone, which you should, because you should be cool. If you have an iPhone, you should you go to the App Store. I'm pretty sure it's on Android too. But it's not as good. But you go to the App Store and you download Watch ESPN, and you put in your provider and you watch all 5 parts. It's incredible. I don't know how to describe it any other way. 7 stars out of 5 is how I describe it. It is the most worthwhile 7 hours. Like, I hate long movies. Like, I watched the movie Jesus of Nazareth, and I was like, why the fuck do I have to watch this? It was a good movie too, but I was like, oh god, why do I have to watch this? And I'm not talking about the Mel Gibson beat the shit out of Jesus movie. I'm talking about the well, I like to say the actual movie, the actual events, but the movie that tries to chronicle his life and things like that. That's a long ass fucking movie, and I hated watching it. And there are long ass movies that you're just like, oh god, when is this movie gonna end? 5-hour movies and things like that. It's a mad world. As great as that movie is, that movie in the original cut is 5 fucking hours, and I'd never want to sit through it. There are movies that are 3 hours that you don't want to fucking sit through, but this movie is 7.5 hours worth of you can't fucking take your eyes off the screen. And it will make you angry, make you sad, but make you happy, and make you laugh, and make you kind of play with your feelings, and make you horrified, and just fuck. It's incredible. Watch it now, because I'm telling you to. That's not that's not a good reason. You're probably like, oh fuck this guy, I'm not watching this shit now. I already wasted 21 minutes watching this piece of shit. Why would I waste 7 hours? This is a phenomenal piece of filmmaking. I'll say this: if you watch any movie for the next month, this is the movie. Period. Documentary or not, watch this. You won't see anything as good. This is phenomenal. And again, I hate when critics something comes in, oh my god, it's the greatest ever. I hate when they do that, but I'm fucking doing that for this documentary and Hamilton. I'm doing this for this documentary. This documentary is incredible. Watch it. And I'm sweaty as fuck, and I'm going to turn off the camera because I have a room to clean, and I have clothes to wash. Well, actually, I don't really have clothes to wash. Whatever. It's not about me. Watch OJ Made in America. And after you watch that, well, actually, watch OJ the Untold Story and Dateline. If you're going to watch those two, watch it beforehand. They're both only like an hour long, but if you're going to watch those, I don't advise you do. They're nowhere near as good as what you're about to see, but if you're gonna watch, I'm just saying, if you're gonna watch the 2 other documentaries that I just mentioned, watch them beforehand. If you watch them after, like, you're gonna feel like they're absolute pieces of shit compared to OJ Made in America. But they're both excellent pieces of film. But OJ Made in America is the best documentary ever. I hope you watch it. Hope you love it. I hope you actually watched this. You probably didn't, but whatevs. If you did, I love you. Comment, all that. I will be posting another video later with somewhat of an announcement, so stay tuned. Not like you were tuned in the first place, but still, thank you for watching this if you did.